both my parents are deaf, and American Sign Language was my first language. And I really grew up understanding and kind of going in between both worlds of the hearing world and the silent world, meaning signing with my parents. But it wasn't until I was a little bit older where my father had a medical emergency. He was home alone, and he texted me to call 911 for him, but I wasn't near my phone at that time. And he almost died because of that lack of access. Text to 911 isn't available in about 70% of 911 call centers in the United States. And so these communities, what do they do for help? They sometimes ask their neighbor for help. Sometimes they just dial 911 on their phone and hope that someone else on the other line doesn't think it's a prank call. And that's when I realized we need to build this technology. AccesSOS is a tech nonprofit startup, and basically the premise is for any emergency, 911 is usually our go-to phone call, except for 37 million Americans who can't hear or speak out loud for help. Our free mobile web app instantly translates text to a 911 phone call. It's in real time, it's at scale, and most importantly, available in multiple languages. And so we bridge that gap in access because text to 911 isn't available. I want us to think about ways where we notify people with disabilities beyond sound. So we have medical, so an ambulance, fire department, and police. And there are many situations where police is not the appropriate response. And so we want to make sure that we have different options for people who are having different crises. I am at the intersection of exploring where 911 meets 988. So bringing in that mental health component and bringing that crisis intervention, first response, mental health first, into our solution. What happens if it's a deaf person of color using our app and the officer that responds doesn't know that they're deaf and speaks verbal commands, and the officer doesn't realize that the other person is deaf, and maybe they're interpreting it as someone being uncooperative, unresponsive. So we want to make sure that we unbundle that for those situations. We really want to incorporate 988 into our technology. And if there's a menu of options and we see that it's a nonviolent crime, it doesn't have a weapon involved, we want to route that to the right response that is away from policing, away from an armed police officer responding to a situation.